Hey guys, welcome to another mixing tutorial. Today let's take a look at my cover of Trilogy by Silent Planet. Oh my god, this song is fucking sick, but so am I. I'm actually sick today, so I might have to cut this short because I can't talk a lot, but I'll still tell you guys how the tones were achieved. My master bus processing is turned off except for the limiter. I will explain it all in the end. In the same order I do when mixing, I put this on at the end. Alright, so the drum sound is the same drum sound as the Wage War Alive cover. So I will send you back to that one to get the full every plugin rundown of this awesome drum sound. It consists of modern and massive shells, periphery for cymbals, both libraries from GGD. Here I added the inverted stack for a cool part in the breakdown. And it's reinforced with some one-shots. So these are the Drum Shots Andrew Wade pack from Joey's Drumforge. It's called Drumforge, the company. Can I hear it? No, I have the outputs closed. Yeah, so Andrew Wade sledge kick and the sledge snare as well, reinforcing the very dynamic GGD pack. Yeah, if you go back to the Wage War Alive mixing tutorial, you'll get something that sounds like this. Nice and slamming because of the one-shots on the kick and snare, but it also goes very dynamic because of the GGD samples. Hopefully you can hear how the ghost notes still translate, and the inverted stack, what it is here, what it's doing. It's just that little accent thingy. Awesome. So let's move right over to bass. And I have a very cool new plugin to show. First things first, the DI sound. That's some very poor playing stitched together, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I wanted to cover the song, but getting this tight on one take on the bass wasn't going to happen without at least a week of practice. So there's some stitching going on for a minimum of consistency. Joel Wanasek Bus Glue Bass is the engine for the bass tone. So there is low end compression on this plugin and a top end compression on this plugin too. Here's what it does immediately. You can hear a very compressed and defined low note and a very compressed top end. The reason it sounds so loud is because I took off the distortion, because you distort only the top end on this module for instant bass tone. So that's all you need to do. You need to compress the low end, the top end, give them the appropriate volume, distort the top end only, and you got a bass tone. There's an additional option for the bottom here, where you can select a different type of EQ for the bottom. It can be an EQ that puts the bass above the kick, so maybe around the 60 to 80 hertz region, and one that puts it beneath the kick at about like 35, 40 up to 60. And I picked that one because the low G is super deep. Hopefully you can see that this low G is a little bit more present with the under the kick option. Now here's a new EQ channel strip I've got. So this is the Brainworks Focusrite console, and to be honest, this is just another flavor of EQ. You guys have seen me use often their SSL emulation. So this one emulates an old or new SSL console, and this one is meant to emulate a Focusrite one. The reason I got this was because it was on a big sale, and because I knew I liked the Focusrite console style from the Will Putney amp simulator, because it has one on the guitars at the end. You can see they're emulating the same thing. You see the style of the knobs and of the filters. I knew I liked it on the guitars, so I got this one that I can use on all of the other mix components. So let's see what I'm doing with the bass. Adding 1 decibel of high frequencies above 3.3. That's pretty slight, as well as half a dB at 95. Just trying the smallest boosts to learn the frequency ranges it does. But the big moves are here in the mid-range. So there's 4 dB less of 400. And it's cool because I can put the band effect in and out. So that's a good bypass to show you. Hopefully you hear how that gets rid of some boxiness. And another one at 6K to get rid of a really bright notch. And there's a low-end filter at about 47 Hertz to get rid of sub-frequencies, and a high-end filter at about 6K to get rid of fizz. And that's all. This is going to be an EQ I'll be using from now on, and I'll also try the compressor and gate someday for sure. There's a bass enhancing tool for the subs. So our bass generates harmonics centered on a certain frequency. So if I put 65 here and boost the intensity, this is not just boosting 65 Hertz, it's also boosting some harmonics above it, like, look at me being a noob, like 130, like 97.5. It's boosting these harmonics of the original frequency to give it some even thicker perceived volume than just going with an EQ and boosting the original frequency. Harmonics are just multiples of the frequency in question, in case you didn't notice, so you didn't know. So that's something awesome to know. And yes, it thickens it up. Very cool tool. Into a limiter. You know what I like to use this guy for. I give it a threshold, and if anything is louder than this threshold, I don't let it be louder than that threshold. So this is my dynamic control. Great to make sure every note is the same volume. Guitar tone. Nice lick, bro. All right, well, let me do it like this. So yeah, STL Will Putney. Here we are again. One of my favorite combinations of amps. Here is the Amp 2, which is the Bogner emulation, and Cabinet 4, which is I don't know what emulation. Love the mid-range on Cap 4, but today we're on a quest to get rid of a bunch of boxiness that it has that didn't fit this mix. First measures on the EQ to do that. These are some very bullshit filters I will reinforce later. There's minus 1.5 at 190. This is some bass, some annoying bass that is there. But the biggest one is this 600 minus 2 decibels at 600. This is the beginning of scooping it a bit more, also boosting the high end above 4.7. The EQ is here for filtering, so this is proper filters. 24 dB per octave slope at 80 Hertz, and an 18 one at 10,000 to get rid of high fizz. And there's also a dynamic EQ point to notch some palm mutes. This part is good for it. Or not. Where are their palm mutes here? Here. Yeah, there you go. So at around about 200, I have a little compressor point that F6, where's the name of the plugin? Oh, who cares? F6 allows me to make. And I just tell it whenever the volume of the 200 frequency goes a little bit too loud, you can turn it down. So you see how those palm mutes get thinned on this frequency region. Keeps them nice and controlled. Very good. This guy again, of course. So you have two instances of it, which is pretty funny. But whatever you have to do. Let's see. Filters. So 13K extra to get rid of extra fizz, and a 70 Hertz extra one to get rid of further bottom end. What is that? Oh boy, I am receiving a call. Wait a minute. I'll get back to that person. The big one here is minus 2.5 decibels at 380. So this is getting rid of a lot of boxiness. Let me switch to a part with constant playing. Not that. Hopefully you can hear that frequency being fucking annoying. And my final guitar compressor, just like that L1 on bass, this is here to make sure nothing gets past a certain volume point so that it's very consistent. Only working on palm mutes almost, actually, which is ideal. Yeah, there you go. Cool guitar tone. One of my classic wet lead sounds. So it's the same rhythm tone because I wanted it to blend nicely. So it's exactly the same amp and amp settings and cabinet 4. Then it's all going to be in the reverb and EQ. So there's an 8-second 100% wet reverb that is high pass all the way up to 800. So it's immediately very thin. Then I further high pass the lows because this still lets some lows bleed through. That's it, very easy. Then there's these cleans in the chorus. Not too clean. I wanted them to have a little bit of distortion. The way I got that sound was through the Mercurial SS11X. And I'm using the clean channel, but I'm driving the gain all the way up, getting rid of a lot of bass and mids, as well as turning on that little green drive pedal. A very cool sound without it, but with it, you get that nice crunch. It helps a clean part cut through nicely. The reverb after that is 5 seconds, 50% mix, 400 high pass, And then there's a delay to make it nice and wide. So these are quarter notes. And yep, it's like 33% wetness, which is a lot of it. You can hear the stereo effect that it adds, which is very cool. Then it's all about some synths and EQing them to fit the part. This foot to the floor preset on X band is awesome, but it needs filters to fit this part, otherwise it sounds like this. Which is arguably even more awesome, but it doesn't fit the song. The most important guy is here, this 1200, English numbers are hard, 1200 filter. So if I take it off, this is what's cutting a lot of that big, bright high end. That's all I needed to do to make it fit. There's this little synth I used to build tension, this little choir part. Where's a good place for it? Here at the end. This has an almost organ-like character. It just needs heavy filtering. So all low end beneath 200 is gone, and high end above 1200 is gone as well. And that was all it needed. Then there's this synth that's only meant to do a very deep G note. Hell yeah, subsonic guy here. Then, very cool trick, I am using the console to saturate the note. How do you do this? The console saturation is here on this very little screw called THD. I just boosted it all the way to the top, but it still needed more to get the low end to distort. So I boosted the crap out of this 95 band, and you can hear what it does. You can hear it distort and add harmonics, which is awesome, and it emulates what the real console does. So there is that, and there's an EQ afterwards, yeah, with this 40 filter to make sure that there's nothing beneath 40 literally destroying your speakers because it's too low to reproduce. Then there's this hilarious this guy is a sound of a bee swarm. That I got on Freesound and pitched up 6 semitones exactly to get a G note. No, to get a D note. This is what it sounded like originally. I pitched it up. So stupid, but the song sounded like bees, so I got a bee sound. Put a chorus on it to make it stereo. Filter the fuck out of it because it's very aggressive. Low end up to 350, gone. High end down to 5K, gone. Further EQ, there was a lot of harshness at 3.2. And a little bit of reverb to put it in a space. Just the tiniest bit. Yeah. Like 0.4 seconds. This guy is free, Epic Verb, and I recommend you try it. And you get this breakdown drone. It's probably something I could have done better, but whatever. Then, to add tension, there's just the sound of a car field recording on the last breakdown. It literally sounds like a backyard. Oh man, but whatever you gotta do. This sounds so stupid. Then I just EQ it to get rid of a lot of boominess and the birds chirping. Can you turn it on, please? Thank you. All I really want to hear is the car energy and the noise, not the birds chirping. And then there's just a track with your un-EQ'd rises and drops. You don't need to EQ those. Often. Little drop on the choruses, big drop on the breakdown. Woohoo! And yeah, explosion on the last one. You know how I roll? I like them booms. That was the mixing tutorial. Feeling better after doing this, actually. My throat hurts. Whatever. Thank you guys so much for supporting, being here. I hope you're learning from these as usual, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.